annual Mega Wellness Summit, where we are transforming lives one aha moment at a time. I'm your host, Nikki Jencen, and thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this event with your friends and family. I'm truly honored to introduce today's expert. He gives me the goosies.
Welcome to Glow, How to Resonate Prosperity. It's a 7-week process. It's the framework for personal transformation and prosperity. When you go through the 7 steps, then each step is going to lead you to an essence within yourself that's going to be maximized. And by joining all the 7 steps or doing the work that is being offered to you for the next 7 weeks, you're going to find out that you are the source of your prosperity and your glow. It's going to compound and make you either wealthy or it's going to compound in a negative way. So all our actions count. If we're present and accounted for, responsible and purpose-driven, we're going to be looking at life as a completely different opportunity. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a great fun challenge to actually participate in versus a negative challenge or a problem. Our perspective is going to determine the outcome of our lives. And every time we change our perspective, a small miracle happens. Those miracles accumulate. By the end of this 7-week process, you will have realized that there are no problems, there are only challenges, and you are the opportunity to awaken, to become responsible, purpose-driven, committed, and through advancement and then insight, you're going to manage your process, and at the end of this journey, you're going to be grateful. You can be grateful right now, and I believe you are since you've come to this website and have engaged in this program. But the amount of gratitude that you're going to feel in these 7 weeks is going to maximize your glow, and you are going to shine like the beam you were intended to be. Thank you for your participation.
And his book is impeccable and in complete alignment with Mega Wellness Summit. Please welcome Gudni Gunnarsson. Hello, Gudni. How are you?
Hello, Nikki. Thank you. Well, thank you. Very well. How about you? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm even better now that I'm speaking to you because I've been really anticipating this interview just because this is exactly what Mega Wellness Summit is all about. And so I have your book, Presence is Power, Awareness is the Key to Transformation. I have it right here in front of me. And, wow, all I can say is just wow. And so, my first question to you is, why is awareness the key to transformation?
Well, without awareness, we don't actually exist. We exist as human doings instead of human beings. Mm-hmm. Without awareness, we are completely disempowered and absent. And awareness is the primary asset. So it is the energy, the force of the universe, the light, the love, the compassion, the kindness. And awareness is your primary asset. So, for instance, one of my favorite slogans or sayings is, all that you devote your awareness to is going to grow and expand. And people immediately embrace that. And then I say to them, when you think about or devote awareness to what you don't want, you must realize that you're actually wanting it. So the point that I'm making is that awareness is the beginning. The moment we awaken to the fact that we are not our thoughts, our assumptions, our judgments, or fears, then we have realized that we are spiritual beings, entities, and then we have choice. So our thoughts do not hold any merit or value until we make them mean something. And that recognition is the awakening.
I can honestly say for many years I've been a human doer. And I know that a lot of people out there are also human doers and not human beings. And with technology today, our cell phones, Facebook, social media, yada, 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 it's we have really lost our sense of being. So, I want to also ask you this question that's really coming up for me. Has this always been your path? Has this always been where your mindset has been? Because I know you're in the fitness business at first, right? And you're still in the fitness business.
I would say that I began briefly in the fitness business, but then very, very gradually I moved over to the wellness industry. So basically what I do is holistic wellness, and there's no separation between mind, body, and spirit. And the idea is that, people refer to mind and body as separate entities, but it's the same, whereas your body is the earth. So there's no separation except in the ego and the duality of mind. Everything else is unified. So I realized very early on that if you do attend your body and your mind and your emotions separately, you're creating separation, not unification. So my interest has always been in the process of unity, because I know that if I'm not present, I don't have choice. I don't have ability. I'm not empowered. So I was very young when I realized that I was completely responsible for my own life, for my energy, which is the awareness that I devote. But I'm not saying that I had the whereabout or the maturity to deal with it at that point. That gradually became the quest of my life, to be completely present and responsible.
Now, was there anything that occurred in your life that has put you into the place you are now, such as any sort of trauma, or how did this transformation come about for you?
It was gradual. My background is quite tumultuous. I come from a background of alcoholic abuse and a lot of intensity, and I was pretty much left to my own devices. And at some point, I was faced with my behavior as a huge deterrent to wellness. And probably at the age of 16, I started to realize that if I didn't do something and take responsibility for my behavior, then my life would not turn out too well. So I just started to discipline myself and create the framework required to sustain some kind of sanity. And I started with physical fitness, but then I was very quickly drawn to breathing exercises and unconventional practices.
Yeah.
So something in me drew me to that because it gave me peace of mind, and I was calmer, and I felt some sense of stability and being. And then gradually I built on that and educated myself. I later opened up a fitness center in Iceland, and I had a small company that was importing and selling fitness equipment from the States. And then I put up a showroom that I then turned into a private gym. And I hired a couple of experts, a couple of physical fitness experts at the time. And they were more interested in the look of the body and the ego than they were in the unity of the mind and body spirit. So I gradually became more involved. And, one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was the first personal trainer in Iceland and wellness coach.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I love that you are all about the mind, body, and spirit connection, because, ultimately that's what we're doing. When I first started with my transformation back in 2011, I didn't understand what I understand today, and I still am on a journey. But as we all are. But what I do understand is that when I developed my weight loss to wellness program, it's called Wheat Free Adventure. I integrated mind, body, and spirit because that was the only way I knew how to lose weight. And so now getting away from the whole weight loss journey of everything, and really making more of a connection with who we are as a human being, like you said, is more important to me now. What we put in our mouths, what we put into our spiritual vessel of this human body, I really do think that is of utmost importance as well. Eating organically and not taking in as many toxins is really important and vital. But what you're saying in your book, Presence is Power, is extraordinary. So I'd like to go through the 7 steps with you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Starting with step 1, and then I'd like to go through your book as well. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
My pleasure. Well, if we start with step number 1, which is the awakening, and the question is always for us human beings or human doings, how much pain or discomfort does it take for us to awaken? To begin with, most of us think that we are our thoughts, and we have this duality concept in our mind, which some of us call ego. Tolle refers to it as the pain body, and I refer to it as the I, me, mine, where everything in my unit or my universe revolves around what I need or who I am. And these are very basic desires and needs. But the point is that we are soul, we are energy, we are essence. And none of us awaken unless there's considerable discomfort. Mm-hmm. So we have, like you asked me if I had any trauma or anything that jolted my awakening. And I guess that there were a lot of small incidences, and then there were larger events that made me realize that if I would keep doing what I was doing, then my life would end up in a disaster. So the point that I'm making is that I awakened gradually, and sometimes, I was awakened with a jolt. But when you awaken, you realize that you are not your thoughts. And the compulsive, obsessive thinking that runs most of our lives becomes passive at that point, because you know that you have the ability to direct your attention or awareness to anything you want.
Right.
You're not addicted to your thoughts anymore. So, on average, a human being will get approximately 3 opportunities to awaken. Some get 4, some get 5. But if we don't awaken and become responsible, then we sail into the abyss of disease or absence.
Yeah.
So awareness is the primary asset, and it's the first step. However, you can't stay aware or present unless you become completely responsible, which is step number 2. And you can't become completely responsible unless you forgive yourself. You relieve yourselves of the toxic mindset that you made any mistakes or that you did anything wrong. And you realize that you can't really forgive your past because there is no past, but you can forgive yourself in the moment for how you think about yourself relating to the past. And forgiveness is an interesting process, the most powerful process that we can actually go through. Forgiveness means that you move into your heart, you move into your own life. It's almost like becoming engaged to yourself. And the precursor for responsibility is forgiveness, and responsibility then becomes the precursor for forgiveness. But if you forgive yourself, you're retrieving all of the energy that you're allocating to regret and remorse. And that's a lot of energy, because most of us are allocating or investing 85 to 90% of all of our energies to self-pity.
Yeah.
So when we do become responsible, we become empowered. Until then, we're just reactive, impulsive, and we're triggered by anything that is emotionally attached, and we blame ourselves or our surroundings for how we feel or don't feel. So in that state, you're either a martyr or a victim, and it's a very, very diseased state.
Yeah.
Responsibility immediately restores balance and ease to your life. And I often remember and say to people that there's a prayer called Ho'oponopono that's like this: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And at some point, we realize that we do not have the power to forgive other people, but we do have the power to forgive ourselves. And when we choose to, then we restore our power and our sanity. Now, the energy that's retrieved from the so-called past regressions or discretions that don't even exist except as a story that you're invested in, then that energy becomes the essence of the energy you would devote to your now step number 3, which is purpose. And purpose is the foundation of happiness. And happiness is obviously the state that we want to be in or think we want to be in. We want to be in balance and harmony. Purpose becomes the rudder, and then through purpose we become inspired, and the inspiration then becomes the fuel for the vision that we create that outlines our goals. Goals that are founded on purpose, they are actualized moment by moment, not at the end of the journey. So the journey purpose, meaning that purpose means journey, the journey of life. How are you going to travel in this galaxy, in this lifetime? How are you going to serve the planet? And purpose is always very interesting because purpose is not goals. Purpose is just how you love in the world, how you shed your light, how you contribute, and how that inspires you, because the only way to be inspired is when we contribute. Step number 4 is then commitment. And commitment is sort of the holy grail, because when we finally commit ourselves to ourselves, the universe takes us seriously. And commitment is like marriage. Instead of step number 2, which is becoming engaged in your own life, in your own heart, then you actually marry yourself and realize there that your heart is the essence, and that's where unity lives. And your word is sacred, and when you keep it, you become trustworthy and therefore worthy of prosperity. So here's what's important with that. We're all operating from what I call the permission-based account. It's like we subconsciously, unconsciously, we hold ourselves accountable and we shame ourselves. And we've been shaming ourselves for a long time. Through that shame, we sustain a broken self-image, and that self-image is reflected into the field, and that's the story we're marketing. And we're invested in the story because we all want to be right. Once we commit to ourselves, we're actually saying, I will never abandon you again. I will never reject you. I will stand by you. Whatever happens, whatever comes your way, I will stand by you. And I'm completely committed to your life, to your heart. Immediately when that happens, your permission base is expanded, because the only way to sustain permission and to enjoy it is to allow the heart to receive. Then step number 5, which I call progression, is how we reflect our permission base. Because in essence, everything we do is expressed, our self-image is expressed, the way we speak, think, dress, our posture, everything is a language. And what we're doing all the time, consciously or unconsciously, is marketing how we feel about ourselves, what our belief system is. And here's something that's very interesting and very simple, but not easy. To will is to act, not to want or to long or to desire or to hope. To will is only to act. So if we're not taking action, we don't want what we say we want. And there's no space, there's no gray area. You either take action or you don't will what you think you want. And so step number 5 is kind of a reflection of what your true worth is, what you allow yourself, how you allow yourself to progress. And it's a very powerful language. Step number 6 is then insight. And insight means that you have become a witness in your own life, and the way you view the world now is through the unification of the heart, not the duality of the mind. So you're a witness in your life. You're no longer a prosecutor or a policeman or a judge or an executioner. You're just a compassionate witness. And if you stray or fall down or forget yourself, then you help yourself back onto your feet. You don't kick yourself when you're down. In the state of witnessing, we're literally watching ourselves through awareness, but it's a sustained awareness, not just awareness now and then. It's sustained awareness, and we are living as a witness in our own lives. And step number 7 is gratitude. And when I talk about gratitude, I'm not talking about thinking about gratitude or talking about gratitude. I'm actually thinking about feeling grateful. And gratitude means love. It means awareness. It means light. And when you feel gratitude, you feel the warm, fuzzy feeling. It's like you can hear or feel the vibration of your heart, because that's where gratitude lives. And the second stage of gratitude then becomes generosity, because in generosity we realize that there's always an abundance, and the more you give, the more you get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the outline for the 7 steps, and we could probably devote a few days to speaking about them, but in general terms, that's the outline.
Yeah. Oh, I wish we could devote some days to this, because that would be awesome.
Well, we can, but we would have to create a different venue for that, but we can, definitely.
Okay, I'm on that, really. For purpose, step 3. I want to read this. I want to read this, page 114. And I want people to pay attention to this, because this is very profound, because a lot of people are in this mindset. So it says, life is a challenging business, including so great a series of difficulties that we should be applauded, awarded medals, and cups for going through with it all. Life is a veil of tears, no pain, no gain. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and so on. Society has found a plethora of ways to tell us that it is natural to suffer. But a person in the valley of the shadow of death can no longer cope with that belief system. She no longer believes in the suffering. She has often been cut and bruised, making her way to a high summit without finding any happiness and without discovering any greater light than on the flat ground below. Why is that so profound to me is because I always say to myself, whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And this, to me, is saying you shouldn't be going through that.
Absolutely. See, what happens is that we have bought into the system that we're not good enough. So we keep pushing the boundaries of becoming good enough to enjoy, and I call that the when disease. Here's the simple fact. You can't change your life or your body with a clenched fist. The no pain, no gain strategy doesn't work. It's based on motivation and fear. It's not built on compassion. The moment you decide to want and love yourself, then there's an expansion and everything changes. The moment you decide to forgive and love yourself, you retrieve your energy, your self-empowerment, and you restore your self-image. The moment that occurs, then you've changed your perspective and your life transforms. If you keep using the old adage, if you keep trying to force change, you're rejecting who you are. You don't want to be who you are, where you are, and that's not going to work. As silly as this may sound, that if you break your leg, you have to embrace that broken leg and enjoy the healing instead of reject that broken leg and miss the healing. I'll give you a small example. This may relate to some of our listeners. A lady came to me and said that she wanted to be 10 pounds lighter, and I said, that's not true. You don't want to be 10 pounds lighter. If you wanted to be 10 pounds lighter, you would be. And she said no. She said no to me. That's not true. I want to be 10 pounds lighter. And I said, it doesn't work that way. You're exactly as heavy now as you have made yourself. And if you want to be your weight at this point, then you can reduce your body weight. But until you allow yourself to be where you are, there's nowhere to go.
Wow.
The point that I'm making is that the moment I embrace this moment and become completely responsible in that moment, I can make choices that transform me. But if I reject this moment, who I am in the moment, then I have no recourse. I have nothing to do except surrender. So it's an interesting process. And as I said earlier, we have all bought into the system that we're broken and somebody else has to fix. And every aspect of marketing, and I'm not excluding us, you and I, or anybody else. We've created this system, and we've co-collaborated this story.
Yeah.
We have created a system based on creating a need and then somebody else fulfilling it.
Right.
And we're all chasing the same dream, the same pills, the same magic bullet, but there's only one magic bullet, and that's forgiveness.
And that's forgiveness.
Yes, personal forgiveness. You forgiving yourself.
I'm going to tell you a story about forgiveness, and it's pretty profound. So in 2011, I had some pretty severe anger towards my husband, anger and resentment that really, it was very debilitating for a relationship. And so, you know, forgiveness is very, it can be a tough thing to, or a tough act. I don't know how to describe it, but some people find it so hard to forgive. And you say, you never forget. And I have the opposite. I really do feel that once I was ready to let go and to really forgive, I forgot. I forgot everything. And yes. I think that that's what really true forgiveness is. It, you know, I also had, may sound bad, but I pictured my life without my husband. I pictured him dead, actually.
Yes.
I pictured him living my life without him, and that really spun me into a place of gratitude more so than anything.
Yes.
And so from that moment, forgiveness stepped in, and I allowed God to step into my life, and He took over. And so I said, forgiveness, I forgive you, and you, I hope, forgive me. And right there, we forgave each other, and love stepped in, and I never remember what I was even angry or resentful about. But what I do remember is the day I forgave him.
I hear you. Let me just visit that for a second.
Please do.
It's very, very powerful. But here's what happens. You can't forgive someone else. You can only forgive yourself. So, you know, I want to simplify this. You know, if you accuse someone or yourself, then you're disempowering yourself and holding somebody accountable for how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So what it sounds like to me is that you were willing to give up the way you felt and hold somebody else accountable for it. So you took responsibility. And immediately when that happened, your husband was able to do the same thing. But you really weren't forgiving each other. And I can tell you why, and it's complicated for most of us to understand this. I can't discharge for somebody else. I can't go to the bathroom for someone else. I can only relieve myself. So if I'm holding somebody in contempt, I'm holding myself in contempt. It's like if I'm angry at someone, I'm angry to begin with and then at someone, holding somebody else accountable for how I feel. And that's a completely disempowering process.
Interesting.
What we can do is we can relieve the story, we can change the story, and we can, if somebody does something to you, you're not condoning that behavior. But the point that I'm making is that the perpetrator has to forgive themselves. We ourselves have to let go of the resentment or the blame.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I know this is not the traditional way of looking at this. We believe that we have the control to forgive other people and that other people can forgive us, but that's buying into religion and how religion dominates how you feel. Spirituality doesn't pretend that to be true. Spirituality realizes that whatever you believe is what you become. And so, again, I say to people, if you really want to understand whether you're addicted to a story, then just count the days that you accuse yourself of someone else. Because that actually, when you accuse somebody, that reveals how attached you are.
Right. I wonder I wonder what it really feels like to truly forgive yourself, because it's our ego wants to point the finger at the husband, at the friend, at the, wife, the mother, the father. But if we say, I forgive myself for what is it exactly we're forgiving ourselves for? And so, right, so that is the question. So if we say, I forgive myself for, then we automatically go into the you. I forgive myself for you're doing X, Y, and Z to me, is how people will take that, I believe.
Well, different people will take it in different ways, because it depends on what story they're assigned to.
Right.
So how it fits their story, or how it fits their perception. But here's something interesting. You don't have to forgive yourself for anything you've done in the past. The only thing you forgive yourself is the contempt you hold yourself in the now. So here's what happens. When I say I forgive you, Gudni, that means I'm saying I love you, Gudni, and I want you to be the way you are. I accept and embrace you in the moment as you are. See, I have what I have because I created it. And if I don't want to be responsible for it, then I can't show up for it. So there are no mistakes in life. We have done what we have done at any given point, and there are consequences. So forgiveness really means I love you and I want you. I am no longer going to abandon, reject, and betray you. I'm no longer going to hold you in contempt. I'm going to embrace your heart wholeheartedly and live my life in unification instead of duality.
Mhm. I love that. And I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm on a journey of spirituality, of really truly understanding. I'm not to the point yet where you are, but I definitely I'm on my way. I'm on the path. I want to read page 62, responsibility. Mm-hmm. With power comes responsibility. And so this spoke to me. Avoiding the truth is a fear of being empowered, the fear of our own power over our own lives, and the fear of the responsibility and consequences that come with power.
Yes.
When it comes to avoiding the truth, how do we know we're avoiding the truth?
Well, it's very basic. If you feel uncomfortable, you're avoiding the truth.
Well, that's simple.
So, absolutely. So here's the simplicity of all the pain that we have created in ourselves. The simple fact is that we don't want ourselves the way we are now.
Right.
We want to be different, or we think we want to be different. Yet our actions have revealed this. Because we're just image projectors, and what we're doing is we're developing the image all the time. So, for instance, my self-image, my view of myself is what's being projected into the field and always developed. And so what I have is what I've created. And if I don't want that, I'm rejecting my life, and that's going to be painful. I'm abandoning myself. And here's something to signify what I'm saying. There's only one disease, and that's a constrained heart. There's only one reason, and that's rejection, abandonment, which is personal. You and I can reject ourselves, no one else can. And there's only one remedy, and that's love. So the point that I'm making is that the suffering that we experience is our own personal self-rejection on various different levels, self-conscious, unconscious, and conscious. And most people are beating the crap out of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, including myself, I would say. And I would say that would be truth for me because I'm in a place now where I speak my truth more so than I ever have, because it's time to speak the truth of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And to just go and sprinkle it out on all over the web for everyone to see. Yeah. Thank you so much. Because I do feel that, if I use my voice, if you use your voice, and we both use our truth, we are changing humanity, and we're empowering women who don't always use their voice and don't always use their truth. We're using that as an example to change humanity, to change the future generations. So I have to be an example to my family and to my daughter and to my son, that to use your voice, to exercise your own power is intense and extremely important in this life.
So, the only way that anybody is ever going to listen to us really with their heart is if we are operating out of integrity.
Sure.
And if we're not being the change that we're promoting, then it's just false.
Yes, absolutely. When I first did Mega Wellness Summit last year, was the first summit, I was so scared. I operated out of fear because I wasn't comfortable in this role that I'm in, as a host. And there was a lot of marketing things that I was fearful of. And unfortunately, what happened was the expectation of the summit didn't go my way. And so it led me down to a very dark road. And my husband looked at me and said, look, you got to get a job. You got to get a 9 to 5. And that's the fear. If I don't become successful tomorrow, I'll have to go get a 9 to 5 job. And I'm saying to myself, I have to be of a vessel of change in the world. That is what I'm here to do. And he looks at it like, if you don't make money, we're going to go under even more so than we already are. You're causing so much debt in our family. And so, therefore, that is my own truth, speaking that out loud. Therefore, that puts a fear and an anxiety around my business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and yes, and I think, that is always speaking to me in the back of my mind. I'm also reading The Path to Wealth by May McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to really transform that our thoughts. I do firmly believe, and I have always believed, because miracles have constantly been present in my life for a very long time, always. And I know that I can change this, but I have to change myself and my thoughts first around money, around my business.
Think about it this way. You don't have to change your thoughts. You have to do it. No, you don't have to change your thoughts. Your thoughts have no merit unless you invest merit in them or give them merit. They have no value unless you make them valuable. So your thoughts are just like clouds. They move through your mind like clouds. If you don't attach any meaning to them, they mean nothing. But here's what. The question would be for you, how does your story serve you? So, for instance, if we're operating out of scarcity, that becomes a story, and we keep telling the story of scarcity. Does that story really serve you? What do you have invested in that story? And so I think you should re-examine your stories and how you tell the story, and re-examine what you have invested in it. But that's the beginning. The second aspect of that is to absolutely embrace your process as a journey and forgive yourself as in the moment. And if you do that, you start increasing your prosperity allowance. And the only way we're going to attract abundance and finances into our lives is if we allow that to happen. It can't be forced. You can shout from the rooftops until you lose your voice, but nobody's going to listen to you if you're not operating out of your heart. And the only way to get into your heart is through forgiveness. You can't go through your heart or into your heart, in any other manner.
I really have to take that in. I know that a lot of people who are, listening to this call right now, it's going to be very profound for them, because what stories are they telling themselves?
Yes.
So I told you a story of where I'm at today, how I felt about my finances and what my husband tells me. So that is a story, and
yes.
we're all walking that at some point, unless we're going through really these 7 steps and getting
yes.
to the final step, and really being aware of what we're telling ourselves out loud.
If you don't want yourself the way you are, where you are, then you're rejecting the moment, and you're going to be happy when. So that means that you have the when disease. But if you allow yourself to embrace everything you have and start looking at your blessings and start devoting awareness and attention to what really is beautiful and blessed in your life, then the frequency of your heart changes, and the way you broadcast into the field immediately changes. So what's happening is that we are attracting into our own field based on our transmission. And we're just energy transformers, and we're projecting or transforming or broadcasting into a field of infinite possibilities. And if we're projecting doubt and fear, then that's what we're going to attract. The moment you start projecting and transmitting fear, love and generosity and blessings, all of a sudden the field will shift.
Wow. Well, in step 7, it's gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So you say gratitude is enlightenment. It is a glow of generosity expressed by blessing each moment. It is the realization that awareness is the primary asset, and that when you love fully, you are complete and prosperous. You are enlightened. What does enlightened mean to you?
It means being fully. The word complete is interesting because it means to complete. It's like it's almost like perfect, and in that moment of completeness, nothing is missing. You feel in harmony with the universe. Mm-hmm. And so what's interesting is harmony is interesting because the word universe means one word, verse. And all of us are beings vibrating on frequencies, and we're participating in the orchestra of the universe. And when we are in harmony, then everything vibrates on a completely awesome high resonance. Yeah. So for me, being enlightened is a moment-by-moment process. But in that moment of feeling completely grateful and sustained and fulfilled, then my vibration, my frequency is what I call the warm, fuzzy feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel connected to everything. I feel my purpose. I feel my heart. I feel tenderness. I feel gratitude. It's like I feel blissful.
Sure.
And it's just a perspective. There's nothing missing in my life. Everything is complete and fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And I can move into that space by simply closing my eyes and starting to breathe through my third eye into my heart chakra. And I can feel the vibration change. And you can, and everybody else can too. But we have to take action and initiate the boundaries of the framework for certain kinds of behaviors that I call patterns that then turn into rituals. But The doorway is forgiveness. If you're not willing to forgive yourself, you can't even touch the door.
You know what? This reminds me how I always say to everybody, it's not your relationships, it's you.
Yes.
And you cannot change another person, and you can only change yourself.
Yes.
So ultimately, I believe that is where you're going with all of this, is that when you tell me, it's the story that you're saying. It's not my husband and his word and what he's saying. It is what I am telling myself. And he is not the problem. I am the problem.
Well,
if there is a problem.
You're not the
problems
problem.
exist? Problems shouldn't even exist.
No, there's challenges, and there are no problems. It's interesting because we have so much to talk about, but stress means defiance. The only stress that we experience is the defiance of the moment, not wanting things to be the way they are. And there are no external stressors. There's just energy, and there's vibration, there's frequency. But if you resist, then you become stressful, and you are causing the stress. So you said earlier that we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves, which is completely true. However, listen to this. If you decide to trust someone, you're sending a completely different message. And the only way to sustain that trust is to trust yourself to trust them. So yes, we change ourselves, we change our view, we change our perspective, but the belief we hold towards another is going to impact them and sometimes even enable them to make changes. But we can't change them. So for instance, I can't be an example for my son, but I can be an example for myself, and that may encourage my son to use me as an example. So the point that I'm making is that the moment you open your heart, what you're going to do is encourage other hearts to open.
Well, I think I know we're all having aha moments, and this is powerful stuff, and it goes extremely deep. And I know that people will have questions and see themselves in your book and see themselves in this interview, and I encourage for everyone to go out and to buy Gudni's book, Presence is Power. Awareness is the key to transformation. 7 steps for living a life of prosperity. I really do encourage you, and I don't believe prosperity is necessarily meaning financially. Is that correct, Gudni?
It's not. Prosperity means wholeness, wellness. It means abundance. It means happiness. It means everything in flow. That's what to be prosperous means, to be, to have your goal. However, what's interesting is that there's no prosperity without money, and money isn't the root of all evil. Money's just energy, love, light. Mm-hmm. So we can't prosper without funds in a society that everything is funds-based. And money, what's interesting with money is that money can't be wasted. It can't even be spent. It can only be allocated or invested, just like awareness and attention. So when you go out and buy something that's negative, even let's say that you buy food that holds no nourishment, then you're still investing your money in scarcity versus investing it in wholesome organic foods. So the point that I'm making is that there is no wrong or right. There's just energy, and then there are consequences. Prosperity means to glow, to flow, to honor the abundance that life provides us with. Prosperity means to love yourself.
Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you. And, before I let you go, I want to talk about Glow Motion Studio. And it's only in Iceland? Tell us more about Glow Motion Studio.
Right now there's only a Glow Motion Studio in Iceland. I used to be located in Los Angeles, and but we moved to Iceland 8 years ago and set up a large Glow Motion center here. It's also called Rope Yoga in Iceland, but it's actually Glow Motion in the States. And it's a comprehensive wellness system that deals with all aspects of what we have been talking about. But there's a vehicle that I call the crafter, and to some degree, it looks like a Pilates reformer, but it isn't. It's a pulley mechanism that allows you to access your inner core and operate out of there. It impacts your deep core, it impacts your lymphatic system, it coordinates your movements, it affects your nervous system, and it's incredibly powerful and potential. There's nothing that will help metabolism as much as Glow Motion does. And it has different aspects to it. It's Glow Motion core, there's Glow Motion gravity, there's Glow Motion stretches, which are releases, there's Glow Motion mobility, there's Glow Motion breath work. And there's also something I call nourishing intent, where you start to realize that if you nourish with intention, then everything transforms instead of eating in absence. So it's a vast system, and people can go to our website, glowmotion.com, and there's no W, it's just GLO, motion.com, and they can see, what the system provides, but it's incredibly powerful. You can also actually go just to Presence's Power, the website, and there you can be linked up to Glow Motion. And I briefly wanted to mention, not as a sales pitch, but Presence's Power is also a 7-step workbook, which is incredibly powerful. And I do workshops and I do Skype work as an energy management life coach, so I can be approached through the websites for anything like that.
Wonderful.
The 7-step workbook is an outline where people move from awareness to gratitude in a particular framework that is very powerful.
Wow. Well, your book is powerful. You are a powerful being in this world, and thank you so much for being a part of Mega Wellness Summit and really sharing your wisdom with all of us. And I really hope that I can get the opportunity to talk with you again, and maybe we can set up to have a weekend to really go through the 7 steps. And so we'll look into that into the future. Do you come to the States often?
I do. I 2-3 times a year, and intend to be more in the States.
You do? Okay. I'm in San Diego, so I plan on having a Mega Wellness Summit live probably in November. So we'll have to talk about that as well in the near future.
Absolutely. Keep me posted.
I will. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate all of your words, and thank you so much for being a part of Mega Wellness Summit again. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's my privilege. Thank you.
It's an honor. Have yourself a wonderful day.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you so much. We'll speak soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.